Arizona's skydiving paradise, features high-altitude pine forests, vast canyons, and scorching deserts. Magnet for thrill seekers, though not without risks. Survival experts Cody and Dave landed separately after a mishap. First, pack the parachutes, then reunite. By temperament, Dave became the searcher, while Cody used his red parachute to create visible signals. From dense pines to barren desert, locating Cody seemed impossible, until bird calls marked the start of their hide-and-seek. Dave followed the plane's trajectory, while Cody planted a marker flag. Before seeking water, noticing deciduous trees afar, possible water indicators, he left red cloth trails, leading to a clear stream. After washing his face, he avoided drinking untreated water. On the other side, Dave still couldn't find Cody. There were only 2 hours left before dark, and the nights here would be extremely cold. He needed to build a warm shelter. He took out the parachute, gathered pine needles from the ground and placed them inside, then tied the parachute between 2 trees to make an aerial hammock. Next, he needed to start a fire and search for tools. Meanwhile, Cody was also preparing to make fire by friction. However, he didn't have a knife, so his first step was to use a rock to make a cutting tool. He picked up a stone and began striking it, obtaining a sharp edge. With it, he processed wood to create a suitable drill spindle, then split another piece of wood to make a fireboard. Dave, on the other hand, adopted a different method. He was making a bow drill. The principle was the same as Cody's, but instead of rotating it by hand, he used a tightly wound parachute cord. The spindle gained momentum and spun faster until it flew off. Actually, that was just a failed demonstration. Rhythm was crucial. Soon, smoke appeared. Once an ember formed, things would get easier. He blew hard on it, but it went out immediately. Indeed, all that effort led to nothing. Resigned, Dave gave up. What was the point? Tough people didn't need warmth. As for Cody, his preparations were complete. He applied some lubricant to the spindle and began rotating it steadily. With consistent friction, smoke soon appeared. He tapped the spindle against the fireboard a few times, then lifted the board and placed the ember into a tinder bundle. First, he blew gently, then with more force, and the fire ignited effortlessly. As night fell and temperatures dropped sharply, Cody relied on the fire for warmth, while Dave toughed it out with sheer willpower. By daybreak, Dave swore he would find Cody today, because the nights here were truly freezing. This was mountain spring water. Cody filled a plastic bag with it and placed it in sunlight, planning to use UV rays to kill bacteria. Meanwhile, Dave also came across a stream and drank directly from it before continuing his journey. He had left the pine forest behind and could now see farther. Upon closer inspection, this method revealed many unusual details, like a red flag in the distance. Dave ran while calling Cody's name, but there was no response. Cody, still waiting for Dave, decided to use pine branches to create a smoke signal. Dave noticed the marks Cody had left and followed the trail. At that moment, Cody spotted a desert-horned lizard, a cute little creature, edible in one bite. Dave smelled smoke and shouted for Cody, finally receiving a response from his companion. The two embraced tightly. Dave praised Cody's survival skills, admitting they were slightly better than his own. They packed water and supplies and set off, soon entering desert terrain. After drinking their fill, they emptied their containers. The desert also offered food barrel cactus with yellow fruits rich in calcium but bland in taste. After traveling for a while, they unexpectedly came across a lush tree. The temperature here was over 10 degrees cooler, so they decided to set up camp. Dave wanted to start a fire again. Cody blessed the tools, and with his equipment, things went differently. After vigorous rubbing, smoke appeared quickly. But when placed in the tinder, the ember went out again. Suppressing his frustration, Dave tried once more, his hands blistering. Meanwhile, Cody explored the area and found a dried agave plant. He cut off the root to use as a water container. After multiple attempts, Dave finally succeeded in starting a fire, no easy feat. The agave's interior was porous. Cody burned charcoal inside it, a slow process. That night, roasted cactus proved nearly inedible. Dave gave up after just one bite. On a towering cliff, the two men looked out. All they could see were canyons stretching endlessly. Their survival journey was far from easy. It turned out that after leaving camp in the morning, they hadn't gone far before reaching this area of clustered canyons, formed by rapid flood erosion. Cody noticed several ponds below, but getting down was a challenge. They inched along the rocky path. With barefoot Cody suffering, the stones were painfully sharp, and protruding rocks posed a constant risk of deep cuts. Fortunately, they made it down safely. The pond was large but filthy, littered with insects and emitting a foul stench. Drinking this water required immense courage. After much hesitation, they still couldn't bring themselves to do it. They pressed onward, and finally spotted flowing water, clearer than before. They knelt down to drink their fill, then filled their containers with water. Next, they performed a skincare routine. Dave plucked a cactus, while Cody peeled off its outer layer and applied the sap on his face. Not to be outdone, Dave followed suit. After the skincare session, they walked with renewed confidence. Following the canyon, they soon emerged into a wider area. Dave spotted movement ahead a rattlesnake. How could they let it go? So Dave killed it, skewered it on a stick, and roasted it over the fire. The sizzling, spicy strip had tender, flavorful meat, providing an excellent energy boost. As they continued, the heat grew unbearable. They decided to climb a nearby slope to scout the terrain. Upon reaching the summit, they spotted a ranch ahead. They were finally saved. In Central America lies a small country called Belize. Within its subtropical rainforests stretches Earth's most intricate underground cave network, a dark, watery labyrinth that lures countless adventurers. Survival experts Cody and Dave aim to conquer it. After reviewing the tools provided by the production team, a single set of diving gear, they adhered to the first rule of survival: pack nothing superfluous. They left the oxygen tank but took all other equipment and set off. Normally, one should follow the water's flow, but noticing stranded logs nearby hinted at a wider upstream entrance, so they chose to head upward. The area teemed with jaguars, posing a major challenge for barefoot Cody. As they advanced, a foul odor struck them. Shining their flashlight, they discovered a colony of bats. Pressing forward, they soon heard louder water sounds, a waterfall ahead. They had to climb it. Dave led the charge, water splashing onto his face. Fortunately, it was a small waterfall, and he scaled it easily. But for barefoot Cody, it was a struggle. Halfway up, Dave grabbed his hand and pulled him to the top. Next, they encountered rushing rapids. Dave adjusted the buoyancy gear, inserted a tube into the water to fill it, and they moved on. Just around the bend, sunlight pierced through, likely the exit. They swam straight toward it and soon emerged. The joy of daylight was indescribable, yet they were still deep in the rainforest. Priority 1. Orient themselves and head east toward the coast to find civilization. But when they looked up, clouds obscured the sun, making navigation impossible. Their solution? Using the dive mask's magnetic storage unit, Dave crafted a compass. He filled the flashlight head with water, balanced the magnet atop it, and let Earth's magnetic field align the poles. Observing tree growth patterns confirmed south, allowing them to pinpoint east. With nightfall approaching, they began building a shelter. Dave gathered palm fronds for roofing, splitting them down the middle. Cody wielded his machete to fell trees, splintering them with a few strikes before snapping them apart. Dave collected vines, yanking them free with brute force to use as ropes. Cody dragged back logs for the shelter's frame, one horizontal beam tied between trees, others arranged vertically. Layering palm fronds fourfold ensured better rain protection. For bedding, they elevated it to avoid snakes and spiders, adding palm layers for comfort. Dave even wove a vine hammock, pure luxury. Then they prepared to make a fire. With 2 hours left before sunset, Dave took out the parabolic lens from his flashlight, placed tinder in the center, and used sunlight to focus heat onto it. All they had to do was wait quietly. Before long, the sun was blocked by trees. At this critical moment, Cody stepped up. He found a stone, chipped off a fragment, and struck the edge of the fragment with his carbon steel knife, sending sparks flying. Cody then gathered flammable tinder, crumbled it, and placed it on the stone to strike again. Despite the sparks, the tinder failed to ignite. Cody smiled sheepishly, admitting his embarrassment to the audience. He went to find Dave. Along the way, he spotted yellow flowers, Parthenium hysterophorus, bitter in taste, and a natural mosquito repellent. After shredding them and mixing them with saliva, he applied the paste to his skin to ward off insect bites. Returning to camp, he handed this repellent to Dave. Once Dave finished applying it, the two fell asleep. At dawn, awakened by animal calls, they rose. In the forest, food was readily available. Bactries gacipes, a staple of the ancient Maya, rich in fat and tasting similar to coconut. Cody gathered some and brought them back to camp to share with Dave for breakfast. They cracked the shells open with stones to eat the flesh inside. Cody relished this gift from nature, while Dave still craved meat. After eating their fill, the two left their shelter and headed east toward the ocean. Trekking through the rainforest demanded extra energy. After some time, they reached a vast grassland, their spirits lifting like clouds parting. They strode through the grass, listening to nature's sounds while staying alert for hidden dangers, such as the two amorous anacondas they pulled from the grass. Unwilling to interrupt their sacred activity, Cody chose to let them go. Soon, They left the grassland and entered a palm forest. These trees bore sharp thorns that caused a burning pain if scratched. The trees ahead grew denser. Suppressing the pain, Cody followed Dave at a slow pace, but his feet still suffered cuts. Fortunately, they soon heard the ocean. Following the sound, they reached the shore as the sun began to set. The two split up. Cody searched for food while Dave tried to start a fire. Using his old method under ample sunlight, the tinder began to smoke. After waiting, a spark emerged, which he transferred to larger tinder, successfully igniting a flame. Meanwhile, Cody spotted a coconut palm. Using a long wooden pole, he knocked down several coconuts. Dave found discarded trash on the beach, repurposing it for use. Then, he heard Cody's call he had spotted a lizard, a local delicacy. Dave picked up a rope, fashioned a noose, tied it to a stick, and handed it to Cody. Seizing the moment, Cody looped the noose around the lizard's neck and yanked it down. Dave swiftly delivered a killing blow. The lizard's tail kept thrashing a distraction to predators while the body escaped. That night, the two enjoyed a feast crispy on the outside, tender and flavorful, utterly irresistible. They ate their fill heartily. At daybreak, Cody vigorously cracked open a coconut, peeled its husk, and poked a hole with a stick. Fresh coconut water gushed out, which he drank eagerly. Then, they set off along the coastline. After some time, they spotted a distant house they were rescued. Barefoot Sage Cody and Boar Slayer Dave arrived in Brazil, home to the world's largest wetland, the Pantanal, teeming with wildlife and a paradise for adventurers. Here, they would demonstrate survival skills. Opening the backpack provided by the show, they found a machete, an empty water bottle, and a fire starter. Waist deep in the swamp, they needed to move quickly to avoid piranha bites. Though Cody had lived barefoot for 20 years, here he had to be extra cautious. Piranhas ruled these waters, swarming in schools and detecting blood from miles away. To reach dry land, they had to traverse the woods. The dusk was approaching, forcing the two to spend the night here. To prevent crocodile attacks, they needed to build an aerial shelter. Dave cut branches for the frame, while Cody searched for vines to use as ropes. They constructed a triangular structure capable of supporting both their weight, then laid tree trunks on top. After addressing the crocodile threat, they had to deal with mosquitoes. This termite nest could burn for hours, and its smoke would repel insects. Next came firemaking. The swamp's humidity made friction fire impossible, but fortunately, a lighter easily sparked flames. Fire remained their best defense against wildlife as they prepared for their first night suspended midair. The next day, Dave climbed a tree to scout their route, but the trunk couldn't bear his weight. After a hurried glance, they proceeded in the guest direction, hoping to find dry land. Trekking through wetlands drained their energy, while unpredictable dangers lurked, compounded by the unsettling cries of caimans around them. A stretch of water appeared ahead with what seemed like land beyond. Suddenly, Cody screamed. Something had brushed past him. These waters teemed with piranhas, demanding immediate crossing despite lurking caimans. For safety, they used a log with Cody leading and Dave guarding the rear, moving silently to avoid attracting reptiles. Upon reaching the opposite bank, which was indeed dry land, Cody smiled for the first time in days. Dave's shoes were clogged with mud, prompting Cody to suggest going barefoot for harmony with nature. Their relief was short-lived. This was merely a waterlocked island. Cody, familiar with indigenous methods, knew boats were essential here. They selected a large tree for a canoe, planning to hollow it by controlled burning, a 2-day process without sufficient food supplies. Dave fashioned a makeshift bow from hardwood and backpack straps, then crafted arrows from slender bamboo, slightly thicker than pencils. After splitting and sharpening one end into a 4-pronged spear, he secured it between 2 branches with bindings. While fishing, Dave missed a piranha but later speared 2 fish in succession. Meanwhile, Cody carved the canoe mold and placed charcoal inside the cavity. To purify water, he simply needed sustained heating. Dave returned with 2 fish, their razor-toothed mouths revealing them as fearsome aquatic predators now sizzling on the fire. With nocturnal jaguars prowling, Dave built a shelter from trunks, palm leaves, and dry grass. They enjoyed the roasted fish but took turns feeding the canoe's fire throughout the uneasy night. By dawn, Dave shaped the canoe's bow and stern. The bow angled like a mirrored slope while the stern had shallower inclines. Their plastic bottle failed, so Cody crafted a container from an acai palm by extracting its pith through the cut base, yielding a fragrant natural vessel. While hunting, Dave found jaguar tracks, larger than his palm, instead of wild boars, heightening camp security needs. He began constructing alarm traps. As the canoe's charring process concluded, Cody overturned it to empty the charcoal, ready for tomorrow's voyage. Daybreak. Two men gave the canoe its final polishing, then carried it to the riverbank and carefully lowered it into the water. But the bow began taking in water immediately, proving their method flawed. This time, Dave stood at the stern while Cody stepped forward slowly, only for the entire canoe to capsize, plunging him into the river. Frustration overwhelmed them. After 2 days of effort, this was the dismal result. Retrieving the canoe, a disheartened Cody, covered in mud, slumped in defeat. Suddenly, Dave had an idea. Flip the canoe upside down and lash logs from the riverbank to its sides. Prepared at last, they set off again aboard their unconventional vessel, no longer triumphant but pragmatic. After paddling a while, they spotted a ranch and signs of human presence. Barefoot Cody and wild boar slayer Dave arrived at the Olympic Peninsula, a 600,000-acre rainforest in North America. Elk herds, quirky insects, dopey squirrels, and lively turkeys roamed freely, but which would end up as their next meal. Unpacking the survival kit provided by the show, they found a bowstring and a plastic bag containing parts of a bow, but no arrows. As the sun dipped, shelter became the priority. Dave scouted for a campsite, while Cody searched for tinder. This rainforest, the wettest in North America, offered little dry material. Damp tree bark went into Cody's pocket to dry with body heat, alongside some moss. Meanwhile, Dave struggled. Every surface oozed moisture. Moss here is like a sponge. Squeeze it and water pours out, he noted, drinking the clean liquid. Spotting a hollowed-out tree cavity ahead, he approached cautiously, yelling to scare off potential occupants. The forest housed cougars and bears. Fortunately, it was empty and perfectly dry. Tonight's home, Dave called Cody over. Impressed by the shelter, they attempted fire-making. Friction-based ignition proved impossible in the damp cold, so Cody struck a metal match against his knife. After several tries, flames flickered to life. The next morning, to escape the rainforest, they headed west toward the coast, where towns might lie. Towering trees cast eerie shadows. Sunlight barely pierced the canopy. Barefoot Cody treaded carefully on slick ground. Along the way, Dave picked up an elk antler, a solid tool, he remarked. Suddenly, rustling interrupted their march. A curious elk blocked their path, unafraid despite their human forms, perhaps emboldened by its herd nearby. Dave's mouth watered at the thought of venison, but lacking proper weapons, he could only fantasize. Sensing his predatory gaze, the elk bolted. The duo decided to camp there, plotting to hunt for food. Cody went to search for snacks to satisfy hunger, while Dave prepared to build a simple shelter for protection against wind and rain. He used broken branches as a framework and covered it with palm leaves to complete the structure. A fire pit was dug in front of the entrance to keep the shelter warm. Cody walked slowly, carefully scanning for potential prey. He found edible insect larvae in rotten wood, a delicious protein source with a woody aroma. Continuing his search, he discovered broken glass bottles that could potentially be crafted into arrowheads. Upon returning to camp, he handed them to Dave, who had just successfully started a fire and was thrilled to see the glass, immediately planning to make arrows for a bow. Meanwhile, Cody decided to check water sources for possible fishing opportunities, so the two split up. Dave took components from his toolkit and swiftly assembled a longbow. Next came arrow making. He selected straight and sturdy dogwood branches, carved V-shaped notches at one end to insert arrowheads, then hardened them over fire. To ensure straight flight, he attached fletchings using spiral-wrapped duct tape from the kit. For arrowheads, Dave shattered the glass bottle to obtain its circular base, then shaped triangular points using an elk antler. These were inserted into arrow shafts, secured with tape, and reinforced with spruce tree resin that hardened when heated over flames. Meanwhile, Cody arrived at a stream. It was salmon spawning season, and female salmon stirred up the riverbed, clouding the water. He fashioned a spear from a straight tree branch, but reality proved harsh. After hours of fruitless searching in freezing water. He nearly gave up until spotting a bizarre sight. A man, Dave, hiding behind a tree with moss on his head, making strange clucking noises to mimic a hen during mating season. A male turkey rushed over, only to meet Dave's drawn bow. An arrow struck its hindquarters before Dave tackled and dispatched it. As Cody returned empty-handed from fishing, he miraculously found a freshly dead salmon stranded on shore. Back at camp, he proudly grilled the fish when Dave returned with the cleaned turkey. Amazed, Dave inquired about the salmon catch, to which Cody shyly admitted it was sheer luck. That night, they feasted on roasted fish and turkey under the stars, lamenting only the absence of Chinese liquor. The next day, they journeyed westward, cutting paths through mountains and crossing rivers, until blocked by a ravine with only a treacherous fallen tree as passage. Dave descended first, hugging the trunk while shifting weight low, followed safely by Cody. Finally reaching the coast with no signs of civilization, they spotted a distant ship. Quickly gathering wood, they built 3 signal fires, producing thick smoke, only to find the vessel vanished. But fortune intervened when an aircraft appeared, ultimately rescuing them.